Make the best of your 24 hours. Make the next day better than yesterday, because tomorrow does not exist. If anybody can tell me what tomorrow look like, I'll give them everything in my bank account. When I know my daughter is in front of me, I don't do that. It is stressful to get everything done in a timely manner. I respect her just the way she respects me. Selma is a small town, but it is also a dangerous city. Dream of mine since I was 12. My uncle got arrested for a crime. I still don't believe it. But why would I try to jeopardize your life just because you're speaking freely about a badge? How do you know what success look like if you never fail? That machine does not have a camera that's gonna track me telling you don't put money in that machine. That's not how that works. I'm glad you actually touched base on that subject before I even say anything on that.
And how is it, having that weight and that responsibility?
Oh man. It's just quick money. I don't think anything long term unless they have a goal. I'm gonna do this and then get out and go legit. Once we catch up with one thing, they're already 10 steps ahead. And they have a phone number. A lot of times the phone number comes back to the person. They'll give you their criminal history record on hand.
Ralph Coquemar, born in Cap-Haïtien, Haiti. He arrived in the United States in November of 1999, graduated from North Miami Senior High School in 2007, and became the first person in his family to earn a bachelor's degree. Today, he is a fraud detective specializing in cryptocurrency crimes, an activist in his community, a father of 3 daughters, a content creator, and an alumni ambassador for his graduating class. His journey took him from the streets of Miami to Selma, Alabama, where he learned America's civil rights history while teaching others about Haiti. And finally, to Georgia, where he now wears a badge to ensure no family endures what his did when his uncle died in prison.
You decided to become a fraud detective. Why?
It's for longevity. For the longest, I wanted to go to homicide.
What do you see different?
Difference is I understand what the law states, and I understand how tedious the law is, and I understand.
What do you think is Alabama's underdeveloped?
Because of the job. Income in Alabama doesn't pay well as any other state.
Do you think crypto will become one of our currencies?
I don't think so, but it's going to play a major role down the line.
What's one of the biggest obstacles for you when you got to Selma?
Adapting to the culture. Knowing that Miami was a fast life. Every day there's a club somewhere. But Selma, the only time we actually do go out is during college night. And the music was different, way different. It's two totally different world.
Welcome back to another episode of Jules Legacy Enterprise Productions, where story connects generations. A conversation with a pioneer. It's a segment that celebrates the life and journey of North Miami Senior High School pioneers by bridging the past and the present to inspire the future. Behind every name, there is a story. Ralph Coquemar, born in Cap-Haïtien and came to the United States in November of 1999. He's an alumnus from class of 99 and is also an activist in the community. Ralph moved to Alabama, where he got a bachelor's degree, the first to graduate from his family with a bachelor's degree. Then he moved to Atlanta, where he became a part of law enforcement. Now he's currently a detective, a fraud detective. It is with great pleasure to bring a friend back in the studio, someone that's not from here, but it's a pleasure to bring him back in the studio. Ralph.
Appreciate you, man.
How was your experience back in the city? Because you mentioned that every time you come back, it's a different environment, it's a different vibe.
Honestly, I'm like a tourist here now, man. Well, I have to use GPS everywhere I go. So,
why do you say that?
I was just going down 125th. The normal turns that I normally make, and I got to make U-turns, and I'm like, everything looks so different out here. It's being given the fact that I left North Miami in 2008.
Right. Ralph, how did you end up in Alabama?
All right, so funny. It's not a funny story. It's actually my greatest. What's the word we're looking for here?
The accomplishment?
Yeah, I wouldn't say accomplishment. It's like, it's my greatest testimony.
Testimony?
Yeah. So when I graduated in 2007, I don't say this much, so this is practically the first time I'm vocalizing this publicly in front of everyone, right? I graduated in 2007. I have my dad who always pushed for education. That's, as you all know, we grew up in a Haitian household, l'école,
l'église, right?
That's it. So when I graduated, I've always had problem with reading and writing, due to the fact that English is my second language. So right. I battled that throughout high school. It was a struggle, especially when it comes to passing the FCAT. Mm-hmm. I took the FCAT 4 times because I kept scoring 299 on a reading every single time.
Okay.
I always missed it by 1 point. Eventually, I went and took an ACT and scored a 21 on a reading, and that's how it was waived. So that's how I was able to graduate. So to shorten up that story, I decided not to go to college in 2007. I went to Miami-Dade, but during that time, I ended up getting arrested.
Wow.
For a misdemeanor. I won't disclose the charge, but nothing substantial. So while I was going through court, again, that's why I always thank my dad. Even when I was at wrong, he was there for me, you know. And while going through court, he got a lawyer and everything. So when it was supposed to go to trial, obviously I couldn't at the time, so I had applied to go to school in Alabama. So my lawyer presented to the judge, hey, he won't be here because he had football camp. So I had to go get a proof of acceptance letter, scholarship letter, and everything and submit it to the court.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, I was advised, consider this a second chance.
Wow.
So I took that. Once I left, I never looked back.
Wait, did you apply prior to that or did you apply after?
Prior.
Okay.
So before my whole incident happened, I had already applied because Gene, who I've known for over 26 years now since I came to America.
Right.
He was already out there. We had people like Terry Clemson, Warren Wilson, Pee Wee. We call him Pee Wee.
Right.
A couple of North Miami guys that went right after high school. They were there already for a year. And they were like, yo, just come up and play. It's a small city. You can focus on what you need to do. And finally, they convinced me and I applied. But during that process, I ended up getting in trouble with the law. It was an Aventura, to be exact.
Right.
But thank God it was not egregious to where it jeopardized any chances that I had of what I'm trying to do now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was my greatest lesson. So I call this my greatest testimony because now I live by a code. Miami raised me, Alabama humbled me, and Georgia get the best of me.
Mm.
So, but why? I understand that you said, hey, you applied to Alabama, right? And did you play football out there?
I did. I played football, ran track, and soccer.
Okay. You said North Miami raised you. Alabama humbled you. Why?
Simply Selma, Alabama. Obviously, most schools don't teach Black History Month. They don't teach anything on Black history.
Okay.
So being the fact that I went to school in Selma, Alabama, I didn't have any knowledge of it. Obviously, during the time that I was going to school, learning English and knowing the history, I didn't know much. But when I got there, it kind of like remind me, it's crazy to say, it's like an upscale Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nothing to do, and everywhere you go, it's like in and out. It literally takes 5 minutes to get in the city and out the city. So Selma, Alabama is a small town. I'm forever grateful for that town. It was the first time I've ever felt accepted in a place. And the reason I say that, obviously, you're a kid that just came from Haiti. A lot of kids, how we were segregated. If you're a Haitian, we all know how it is to be a Haitian going to school in the past, where they call you bold and things of that nature, right? But when I arrived in Selma, I was speaking to something. Oh, I like your accent. Where are you from? And I would say, I'm from Haiti. Where is that? So the same way I didn't know much about Selma, the people in Selma don't
know much about Haiti, right?
So it's kind of like I'm learning from them. And
They're learning from me. Yes.
So I lived there for 9 years. Even after I graduated, I stayed an additional 5 years there until one day I just decided to say, let me actually go chase what I really want to do, was becoming a law enforcement officer.
So what was one of the biggest obstacles for you when you got to Selma?
Adapting to the culture.
Okay.
Knowing that Miami was a fast life. Every day there's a club somewhere. But Selma, the only time we actually do go out is during college night. And the music was different, way different. You come from jugging to listening to Gucci Mane all day. So it's two totally different world. What I like about it the most is more family oriented.
Okay.
Every weekend, somebody pull out a grill. They grilling, having music. What so-and-so, they call it a kickback. Where I learned how to play spade in Selma, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
So it was a learning factor. Even during my time there, I met Obama, I met Oprah. They filmed the movie Selma there, the latest one. They filmed that movie in Selma. So I was there doing extras. When they will say action, then you go out there and run. But I was there.
Were you one of the extras?
Yeah, I went there to be one of the extras.
That's pretty interesting.
So the whole cast was down there. Before the movie hit theater, we was able to watch it first in Selma, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
So walking across that bridge during Bloody Sunday, it was monumental to me, knowing the fact that this is where, when you look at history, Martin Luther King and everybody was trying to cross, and they was being sprayed down by water holes, getting bit by dogs. Like it meant so much, and that's why I said that really humbled me, knowing that it's such a small town, have such a big history. So if you guys never been, I encourage you to take that. It's the first weekend of March every year.
Okay. How would you compare? Because now that you've seen the history of Alabama and the things that's there, how would you compare that story with our story in Haiti?
The way you can't compare it because story in Haiti is still going. Right?
Okay.
It still struggles in Haiti. The only thing I would say differently is I've actually met some of the foot soldiers in Selma, Alabama, those that marched in 1965 from Selma to Montgomery, the one that actually marched 45, 48 miles to Montgomery, Alabama. I met them. Obviously, I was in uniform, ROTC uniform, and you can tell that during the time of the civil rights movement, they was traumatized by people in the military, because they did not want to speak to me just because I had on a military uniform. But anybody else, they would have conversation and share the stories, what it was like when it was sprayed by water holes, what it was like getting bit by dogs. Like you hear stories about Emmett Till, like you hear all those stories and it's like, man, no, I was not born in America, but I'm grateful that the ancestors went through all this just so we can have a way. So I took that with me, and I never look back. There's times that I doubt myself, but I always have to remember where I came from and where I'm trying to go, because now that I have my own children, right, that I'm raising, my daughter is now in school, and I know how much she hates school. So I decided to go back to school and pursue my master's degree just to show her that even at this age, I can still do it. And hopefully that motivates her to stay on task and become better than me down the line.
Oh, what grade level is she in?
She's in the 7th grade now, going to the 8th.
What makes you say she hates school?
It's always assignments missing. I remember one time I flew to Texas just to do homework with her.
Okay.
She kind of hates stuff like that. I mean, it's given, because even when I was younger, I didn't like school either. So you don't know if that's a trait she picked up from me, and because her mother's smart. Her mother loves good when it comes to school. But when it comes to me, I was the one that was slacking. Like my whole life, I've had a C average in high school. Matter of fact, I graduated high school with a 2.3.
I graduated with a 2.2.
You get what I'm saying? And then when I went to college, there was actually a professor named Tamika Ross. She was also my track coach. She failed me, and she was my track coach. I had her for public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The very first day of class, she gave us a speech to write, and the way I wrote the speech, I didn't even make it past introduction. The first 2 words, she stopped me, and then she said, "Have a seat." That's a 0. Wow. And that is my track coach. And to this day, I call her and have conversations with her. That's one of my biggest idols, like one of the biggest one of the biggest person that impacted my life to where I am today.
Ralph, I'm going to go back to Alabama. As far as, if you look at a lot of states, a lot of cities are developing, right? What do you think is the reason why Alabama is underdeveloped? Because when you look at the real estates there, they're very, I would say, very cheap compared to other places.
Because of the job. It does, income in Alabama doesn't pay well as any other state. Like, for example, I had a 3-bedroom apartment. I was paying $500 a month for rent.
Wow. So
the income there is very low. I wouldn't say poverty, but it's close to there. Like it's even now, there's across the bridge, they call it across the river.
Okay.
We were always told, don't go there at night. And true, at night you will hear fireworks. You would think it's fireworks, but it's actually gunshots. So yes, Selma is a small town, but it is also a dangerous city.
Why law enforcement?
Believe it or not, it was a dream of mine since I was 12. My uncle got arrested for a crime. I still don't believe it. He did it, but I don't even know it. Like growing up, I never followed the trial, the case. I don't think he was ever convicted, but he died in prison for that crime.
Here in the U.S. or in Haiti?
Here in Miami. So that's where it deemed that I wanted to become an officer, because obviously I was young, so I don't know how it was handled. But to myself, I said I never want somebody else to become my uncle. As long as I'm handling a case, I'm gonna do it fair and do it the right way. So I'm never the type to put a bogus charge on a person just because they curse me out, because it's not personal. They may curse me out because it's just because I have a badge on. They don't know me from a can of paint.
Of course.
But why would I try to jeopardize your life just because you're speaking freely about a badge that doesn't represent me? I represent the department, but the badge don't make me.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So my conduct on and off the job, it will be the same, because yes, I represent the department, but the name Coquemar is what I stand for. That's my dad's legacy.
Right.
So why would I do something to embarrass my family? And given the fact that I almost did that at a young age, but I'm glad that I learned from it and adapt and move on.
You mentioned you got in trouble with the law earlier, right? Before you went off to college.
Correct.
Now you're on the other side. How do you see it being from you were on the first side as far as being offensive to the law. Now you're on the other side that now you're upholding the law. What do you see different?
Difference is I understand what the law states, and I understand how tedious the law is, and I understand sometimes the law don't even make sense. Even when I'm putting these charges on people, I'm like, sometimes it's just the wording that makes a difference.
A huge difference.
It makes a huge difference, right? It makes a huge difference between simple assault just because of the word and terroristic threat.
Yes.
Right? I could say something like, yo, I'm not going to curse, but I could say like, yo, I'm going to beat you up. That's simple assault. If I say I'll kill you, now you're looking at terroristic threat. That's the difference between misdemeanor and a felony. So it's just the word kill. It's just that, I think that's the difference. So now what I do with my job now, I always say it's 1,000 people out. You can't save everybody. If I could save one, I feel like my job is accomplished. So I've come across a lot of juveniles, and sometimes I'll take the initiative and do a mentorship program with them on my own. It's not like provided by the city. So let's say I've come across a 7, 8-year-old, sometimes 12, 13. I'll go back and check up on them, see how they are doing on a daily life, especially a lot of them don't have father figure in their life. So I'll just go by and check up on them. And I know the last child that I dealt with, I know his family moved now, but last I heard, he was doing better.
That's good.
So, can't save them all, but you can only do the one that you get connected with. Even now, I play a lot of PlayStation, so they reach out to me on PlayStation, and we'll be playing 2K or whatever game that they want to play. Like, they'll challenge me, hey, let's run it, let's play Madden. And keep it up that way.
You decided to become a fraud detective.
Correct.
Why?
It's for longevity. For the longest, I wanted to go to homicide. I wanted to do special victims unit. The department I work for it's a lot of variety positions that you can go for. You can go for, like I said, homicide, all of them, special victims unit. You have narcotics, you have gangs. Like, there's several different ones. But when I look at my career path, I think about the end game. It's not about the now. Yes, I can solve murder, but what about when retirement comes? I can't do everything law enforcement. So why not get something that's gonna stick with me? So I thought about fraud. I started taking classes on fraud investigations, and reason being, you're looking at the biggest crime that's now in society.
Correct.
Fraud, scam. That's the biggest thing right now. But so one the day I decided to hang it up, then I started looking at banks, because it's a lot of people that wanna, hey, I'm gonna call the bank and dispute this. It's a lot of scams going on.
Of course,
right now.
Of course.
So that's where it's going to. Now the biggest game is cryptocurrency.
Of course.
And I hate to say this, but it's a lot of people that they're targeting, like 61 to 81-year-olds.
The elderly populations. Yes.
They're getting all their life savings. And when you deal with cryptocurrency, you start tracing that money. And a lot of times it ends in Hong Kong, like overseas, and you don't have law enforcement laws. So
you don't have jurisdiction over there. Ralph, what do you guys use? You guys use UCRs, or you guys use NIBRs over there?
We use NIBRs.
All right. So the reason why I'm asking, because a lot of people, so there was a transition period, right, where a lot of people were doing the violent crimes, the robberies, you have the strong arms, you have the aggravated assaults, and you have the homicides, right?
Correct.
But a lot of people started moving away from that because they were looking at risk versus reward, right? So that's why you have a lot of people turning into fraud, right? What do you think, in your perspective, is the long-term game for scammers? The scammers that's actually going out there, they're scamming. They do get reward from the banks. So what do you think is a long-term game for them?
It's just quick money. I don't think anything long-term unless they have a goal. I'm gonna do this and then get out and go legit. But sometimes it's the greed. They get greedy, and it's easy money, so they're gonna continue to do things over and over and over. So to me, once we catch up with one thing, they're already 10 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember a time growing up, it was TurboTax.
Right.
TurboTax don't even do that anymore. Now it's this, now it's that, it's green dot card. Now it's pretending to be, hey, you have a warrant. The only way for you not to go to jail, I need you to go withdraw $10,000 from your bank. Don't tell nobody. Take it to a Bitcoin kiosk, deposit it there.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you hit send on that
It's a
Bitcoin
wrap.
kiosk, that money done split 10 ways in 3 minutes.
Yes.
So now I'm tracking the thing going this way, I'm tracking going that way, and all of a sudden everything leads me to the dark web.
Do you guys have a threshold amount that you guys investigate? Because each agencies are different. Some will investigate $8,000.
There is no amount, especially now any cases that's involving cryptocurrency. Throughout the whole county, it comes to me.
So you guys mainly focus on the cryptocurrency. I'm asking,
That's what I mean.
Is there a number? Let's say somebody get scammed for $1,000. Would you guys invest time and research?
Yeah.
Okay, so based on your research, how do we mitigate that issue? Based on your knowledge, your experience, is that situation something that could be mitigated?
It can. It can.
So
a lot of the only thing that we can do on our end is to contact the gas station clerks and say, hey, if such and such come here, you see them put money in the Bitcoin machine, call 911 and stop them. Because the suspect will stay on the phone with them until they hit send.
correct. There's a reason why I'm asking. So I'm going to share a personal experience with you, right? I had a similar case. This gentleman was called and they said, hey, look, your computer got a virus. They took $30,000 from this guy. He went to I don't want to say the name of the bank. They give him the money. They didn't even ask him, what do you need the money for? There was no second proof of security, nothing. They just hand him the money, $30K. He went right there to 125th and 6th, deposit the money, and that money was gone. I tried calling that number that was on that kiosk, right? And there's no way of getting that money. There's no way of getting that money back. So the reason I'm saying that is because now as a clerk, what power does that clerk have?
They don't.
Right?
You're talking about that from the store?
What power do they have to stop a transaction like that?
So they can easily say, hey, law enforcement officers came by and say, and remember, they don't get no commission from that machine. It's kind of like I get an ATM and I'll come deposit it here and I just pay you for having that business there. Nothing that goes in that ATM goes back to them. That goes to whatever company that's on that machine. Okay. So it has nothing to do with them. As long as I'm paying you $300 a month, $300 a month is what they care for. Right. So if I could tell you, if I could still make $300 a month and stop you from putting money in there, that's not affecting me.
Correct.
Because that machine does not have a camera that's going to track me telling you don't put money in that machine. That's not how that works.
Right.
So, and the only way to do that, sometimes there's been cases where I was able to freeze some of that assets because you got to use like a cold wallet. A cold wallet is as small as a USB drive. And that's what holds it. It gives you a 12-seed phrase. And that's how you get in. That's how you lock it. It cannot be hacked. It cannot be guessed. I don't care how you try to crack it. You can't crack a cold wallet. And out of 20,000, you was able to freeze maybe 1,500. Right. The money split so many ways. And by the time, you got to think about it, by the time they send that money's gone and realize they've been scammed. They call 911.
Of course.
They make that report. By the time the detective get that report,
like a week almost a week went by.
It takes 48 hours for that money to vanish.
So when you say vanish, as in you can't trace it at all?
No.
You could trace it. You just can't freeze the asset unless it goes to a Coinbase account. Then you have to get a subpoena, contact Coinbase, and they freeze all assets of that person that holds the wallet.
So some of the things that I've noticed was you have that. They'll call them and say your FPL bill you haven't paid your FPL bill. Go to Western Union and drop this money. Or they'll tell you, hey, we just kidnapped one of your relatives.
Yeah.
And we need to send the money, right? So one of the initiatives that I started because it mattered to me was, and I started seeing a lot of the elderly people, especially in the Haitian community, they were getting hit very hard. So I started going out to radio stations. I started going to local churches. I started talking to them. I said, be aware of this. If the person calls you and tell you don't hang up that phone, then just be aware that it's possible. We even had a situation where somebody was going to get released from jail. Tell them, hey, look, we want to put an ankle monitor on this person, but we need you to pay $325 in order to put that monitor on that person. But go to the Western Union and actually submit that payment for us to be able to put that monitor on that person. Whole time we call that number back, it was a fake number.
Correct.
It was a fake number.
So I don't know if you guys use something called like IDI Core over here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing you have on your mobile device. You can just put the phone number in there to see where it belongs to. So right then and there, you can tell if it's a fake number or not.
Correct.
So that's what I use on most of the time. Even if something there is a call out, well, regardless what it is, and they have a phone number, a lot of times the phone number comes back to the person. They'll give you their criminal history record on hand, and before you can actually run an official criminal history.
Oh wow!
So I use that a lot. And the only reason I say that it's hard to stop because again, we're not catching up to cryptocurrency crimes.
Correct.
They're already 100 steps ahead. Like they send encrypted emails. They don't send regular emails like us. Like
Right.
you write an email in a notepad, the notepad we never use on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
You can type up a whole message in there, and then there's a file. Yeah. So like I said, the notes. There's the notepad thing that we use on a computer. We use Microsoft Word. We don't use Note.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go on Note and you type a message, when you go down on the drop file, you can encrypt that. You highlight everything and encrypt that message that you type. And you don't send that message on a regular email. You got to have a dark web, like it's a Proton email.
Of course.
And you click and drag that in an email. The same way they'll get it. It's not tracked. The government can't track it or anything. They're going to do the same thing, bring it in their note and decrypt the message.
Do you think crypto will become one of our currencies? Or
Legitly, I don't think so, but it's going to play a major role down the line. Like, for example, in 2009, when it first came out, everyone was telling us invest in cryptocurrency. Nobody believed in it, right? And it was like maybe $49 or in some change, $9.99 per Bitcoin.
mm-hmm.
And there was a gentleman, it's a funny story. There was a gentleman in Tampa, Florida, I believe it was. He wrote on Reddit, I want to purchase pizza. I want to be the first person to purchase pizza with Bitcoin. And somebody replied to him, sure, you can order as many pizza you want and we will accept Bitcoin. So he said, I want some large pizza or whatever. He set the transaction 10,000 Bitcoin. He paid 10,000 Bitcoin because if you're like $9.99, he just paid for it. And the gentleman that replied, I believe it was either Domino's or Papa John's, and ordered pizza and paid with his own credit card and shipped it to the guy.
Oh, wow.
And that's how the transaction was made. So he took those 10,000 Bitcoin and he saved it. Now fast forward, if you Google how much it is per Bitcoin, and you take that times 10,000, that's how much this man paid for a large pizza. That's almost like $1.5 million.
Of course.
Yeah.
Ralph,
I was gonna say, how long you been in the cryptocurrency department?
I've been there, I say a little over 6 months now.
Okay.
I went to take classes at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center facility.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they call it, it's short for FLETC. That's where all the TSA people go, anything federal level, that's where they go train.
Okay. What's one of the biggest, I guess, crime that you solve with cryptocurrency?
I wouldn't say solve.
Or at least
Because the biggest, a lot of time when it comes to the biggest dollar amount, it automatically goes to the feds. It's when we talking about like the 100 million to like 200 mil, 500 mil.
the feds comes in and pick
Feds
it up.
taking it. Yeah, they take over those cases because they have tools that I don't have access to. And they can trace deeper than I can. So again, being the fact that I'm fairly new in this, and you have to keep taking classes. And that's what I'm doing now. And each class is for example, the next class I'm going to take is a $7,000 course. And the class after that is $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So,
Ralph, you are a father of 2, right?
correct, 3,
A 3?
correct.
How has that been for you, and what did that teach you?
Patience, patience. Not just 3, it's 3 girls.
Oh.
Wow.
So it takes a lot of patience, especially my soon-to-be 13-year-old. I learned most of my thing from her mood swings, and obviously she lives with her mom most of the time, about 90% of the time, right? And I have to hear how she's behaving through mom, and then when she's with dad, it's the opposite of what mom say. So I remember the last time she visited, she came down for spring break, and we was walking, going down, just going places, and I'm talking to her. I said, "You think I'm a good father?" I like to have those type of conversations to know how my kids feel.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Daddy, you my biggest flex."
Wow.
I'm like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, like all my friends know who you are." I'm like, "How is that?" She said, "You have 40,000 followers on TikTok." I said, "I'm clear." So if they come across my video, they never knew I was her dad until she said, "That's my dad." And to me, I guess to her, that means so much, because the fact that they know her dad is this person, her dad is a cop, her dad could be many things, and she speak highly of me. And through all that, I still feel like I haven't done enough. So I take pride of having little girls. Everybody keeps saying, when you gonna push for a boy? I think those days are over with. Like,
So you done with having kids?
God gonna make a joke and say, "Yeah, you thought you was getting to know one."
Yeah, get another fourth one, right?
I don't know, man. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I don't have my mindset on that. But I do enjoy fatherhood. I thrive to give them a better life than I had. Not saying that my life sucked, because it didn't, but I want them to have a better life than I had.
How do you, as a father, how do you prepare for that?
You don't. The reason I say you don't, well, for me personally, I learned from my father, right? I look how my sister and my father, their relationship, I look at that. I learned from them.
Okay.
If you see my sister's social media, my dad, like, he has a small band now, and he plays every Friday. You see my sister so proud and looking at him. So I learned from that. And I've always want my daughters to tell me anything, no matter how hard it is. Even God forbid, no matter when I say how hard, like, even if hypothetically down the line in her 20s, I'm gonna say 20s and 30s or whatever, and she about to become a grandfather, I wouldn't want my child to be scared to come tell me that. And I get it, things happen in life, but I teach her everything from what these little boys looking for now versus what a man like. I don't allow my daughter to touch a car door, no matter what. I don't allow her to touch any doors at all. I was picking up her and her little friends to go to softball games, and her friend about to touch her. He said, "Hey, don't touch that." He said, "Why not?" "Because my daddy don't like that. My daddy said a girl should never open her own door." So those are the lessons I plan to instill in my children. Make sure that they know what it's like to be raised, like how a man's supposed to treat them. So they're not just gonna settle for, "Hey, I can fly you out to Atlanta. That's cool. My daddy took me to Dubai." So you're not gonna fly me to Miami. You're not gonna fly me to Atlanta, because what you did, my daddy took me further than that. So that's what I plan to do. I want to show her all the finest things. So she, when you gotta step your game up. She don't see me sag. I would hope she don't talk to somebody that they pants is damn near at their knees. So I plan to set that. Even I used to wear my grills, and she don't like that, so I don't do it no more. So anytime I'm around, if I wear it, I'm with the friends, like I'm with the homies, I'll wear it. But when I know my daughter is in front of me, I don't do that, because if she don't like it, I'm not gonna do something she don't like. I respect her just the way she respect me.
Did you ever think you'd be where you're at today?
No, actually I didn't. Especially the way life has been. I'm just thankful to God for where I'm at today. And I know I got baptized last year in February. I got baptized last year. I'm still learning, even though I don't deserve any of it. But in His eyes, I deserve all of it, right? I've come to understand that as long as we're still on this earth, we're always going to be sinners until that the day comes that he calls us home.
Facts.
So you treat people how you want to be treated, kindness, respect. I could say my life has changed a lot since child to college to where we are now.
You're one of the ambassadors of class of 2007. How is it, having that weight and that responsibility?
Oh man, as you can see, the grade is going down already. No, so I'm glad you touched base on that subject before I even say anything on that. I really just want to shout out all the ambassadors for every class, specifically in 07. I don't know how every other class is handling their classes, but I know Sandy, Claude Jane, Fred Aline, Marsha, and myself, we communicate day in and day out. A lot of our classmates don't know what goes on behind the scene. It is stressful to get everything done in a timely manner, especially sometimes you'll reach out to a vendor, let's just say August, and they don't get back to you till January. Now you're working crunch time trying to get everything done. It could be stressful, but we have a strong team. We stay put and make sure we get it done. And hopefully tomorrow we'll see the outcome and hopefully everyone's satisfied. And even then, I flew in today, like I know we doing jerseys, right? And our jerseys got there late. We have the ambassadors driving all over Miami to make sure everyone that ordered received their package on time if they got to do alteration. And that's something we was not trying to do, but because the way production happened, so we had to improvise and please everybody.
What does the alumni weekend mean to you?
To me, I know a lot of times we wait 10-year reunion, 20-year reunion to come back together and see everyone. I come back every year for alumni weekend just to see how everyone's doing, to check up on everybody, to just sometimes we get so caught up in being parents and working. You just need that one weekend to just either you get away, you come with your family and just enjoy the festivities, whether if it's a comedy night or if we changing stuff like we do banquet halls. To me, even if banquets, you never know who you can meet at a banquet. That's a networking event. That's how I look at it. Because if I have, like for example, you guys are doing podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact about me, I'm into content creation, but however, mine is in video games.
Oh, nice.
So I'm on Twitch and TikTok and YouTube doing all of that. So it's kind of like to see the production level that you guys have. When I was paying attention from when you guys was building this office. Oh. I'm like, I didn't know there was into content.
Right.
But then as time progressed, I said, okay, I think he's going to create a podcast. That's before I knew it was Jules Legacy Production.
Right.
So I was watching step by step. And I remember I reached out to you and you gave me the date. You said, I believe you said August.
Yes.
So, and I'm just talking off my head and you guys said, all right, this is going to work. So the first day, I subscribed the first day.
Thank you for that, man.
So I appreciate that, man.
So the alumni weekends mean a lot to, just like you said, to sometimes we lose track of people, we lose track of time. And it's not until you get the news, hey, that person died or that person's not here, then we all feel bad. Like, man, I wish I knew. So this weekend, a lot of people are very skeptical about it. They're like, it's high school all over, right? That's how a lot of people feel. But I think it's a good time to get everybody back together. One thing I always wish that we're pushing for is to also touch into the business aspect.
Correct.
What does everybody have that's going on? How can I help your business? How can you help my business? How can we sit there and actually help each other grow? Definitely. So that's something that hopefully one day we can sit there and actually, drive that.
Definitely. So Ralph, what words of encouragement do you have, brother, for anybody that's watching now that wants to probably be an officer, go into a detective route, or wanting to be an ambassador for their class, or all the hats that you wear, being a father, the examples that you are setting in this world? What are some words of encouragement that you would like to share?
I actually jotted down one thing, and I took it as a word of encouragement, right? I'll say, and what I put down was like, each day is one more, it's one less. So act like it. And by that, a lot of us tend to procrastinate. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to get it done later. I have this goal here. I'm sure this production you guys put together, right? You wrote a plan, you didn't procrastinate, and you execute. You don't have one more day. That every day that we wake up and say thank God, it's one less day we have left on this earth.
That's true.
So make the best of your 24 hours. If you didn't get this thing done today, don't stress it. Because the next day, I'm not going to say tomorrow. Because the next day, make the next day better than yesterday. Because tomorrow does not exist. If anybody can tell me what tomorrow look like, I'll give them everything in my bank account.
What's in your bank account, by the way? I can tell you what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah, so
You'll be broke tomorrow.
I'm telling you, like, if you tell me what tomorrow looks like, it doesn't exist. So to everyone out there, whatever it is your dreams are, what you're trying to accomplish in life, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Nike say it all the time. We buy the product, but we don't do it.
Facts.
Nike have the just do it.
Facts.
On their logo. So just
That is true. I think there's a saying I've said to you before, and I think we've communicated about it, is whenever you have an idea of something that you want to do, right? If you wait for the perfect time to do it, then it's too late.
it's too late.
Yep.
It's already gone.
The only thing you can do is start. Because what do you know? How do you know what success look like if you never fail?
Ralph, it's you didn't become a police officer by just sitting there and just imagining you become, right? You didn't end up in college or university the same way. You just like, hey, I want to go there, but you did absolutely nothing about it. One of the things I preach to people all the time, because a lot of people they are afraid to fail, and a lot of people are just comfortable, right? If your dreams don't scare you, then it's like, you're not really living. So what you felt? That's one of the things I tell people. So what you felt? Well, that's your goal. That's your dreams. You fell at this. You get up. You know what? I learned from this. I'm going to try it again. But it's your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. But a lot of people are very content where they at. I'm good where I'm at. And they don't want to take chances on life.
And one thing I'm going to say, it's going to sound crazy, right? A lot of people look at the generation that are coming behind us. And they said, man, they look what the young ones doing. Man, we're doomed. But are we really? It takes courage to put a phone in a store and just start dancing to no music.
Of course.
Right? You're just creating content. Like it takes a special person to do that. When you look at this generation, none of them care about what we see. They just put a phone against a thing in Walmart, Foot Locker. It don't matter where, in an airport. And they're just dancing to no music. If that is you and you into content creation, that is a gift. To stand and to sit in front of a camera, to speak to an empty room. I've done it during COVID. Especially when I first started the very first stream. It was weird. Just sitting here, just talking to an empty room. I'm in the house by myself just talking. But obviously I'm reading comments and I'm replying to comments. It takes a special person to do that. But those that's into content creation, don't stop. The only thing I could say is be yourself. Don't be like everybody else. Just be yourself. There's only one you.
Yep.
There's only one you. You can only be yourself. Everybody follow the same content. Great. Put your own twist to it.
There you go. And at this time, we would like to thank Ralph for coming on and sharing such wealth of knowledge. And we would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and watching. We'd also like to thank all of our sponsors, A&Z Formal Wear, Comprehensive Health Center, Chick-fil-A of Miami Shores, Gourmet Gatherings by Chef Princess E. And most definitely, we would like to thank you, all of our viewers and listeners, for making this happen and believing in us. Thank you. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Till next time.